Hey there, race fans. It's race day, top 5 with me, Frank 5. Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. Home to the Daytona 500, home to the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, but also home to the regular season finale for this year's NASCAR Cup Series. This tradition was started last year as a way to improve the competition and allow other drivers that need to win to get in the playoffs the opportunity. 2 years in a row, this race has not disappointed. We saw phenomenal action last night under the lights, close battles, a lot of intensity, and a lot of drama to see who's going to get that last spot into the playoffs. And at the very end, somebody in Team Penske is on a roll. Let's talk about all the action in last night's regular season finale in Florida. Number 1, Ryan Blaney. This dude's on a roll right now. This dude is clicking at the right time. He has picked up his 3rd win of the season. Yes, last week we were talking about Ryan Blaney now finally has a season where he's won more than just one Cup race. Now he's got 3 wins to his total for this season. His 7th career Cup Series victories. He scored the win in last night's Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona, winning it over his buddy Bubba Wallace, Ryan Newman, Ryan Preece, and Tyler Reddick. Yeah, those 4 names behind him, they all needed to win or at least run well to make the playoffs. And only one of them did, and I'll talk about him. But interesting top 5. Ryan Blaney is clicking at the right time. Team Penske has been okay this year, but they haven't been up to par with teams with Hendrick and Joe Gibbs Racing. But lately, they seem to be turning a corner with Ryan Blaney, who had a dramatic win last weekend, hauling off everybody behind him and doing the best with his blocking abilities to win at Michigan. And he did it last night at Daytona. He had a really good race car, not a dominant race car, but he certainly had a relatively competitive car. And he's won at Super Speedways before. He did it at Talladega in 2019 in the fall over Ryan Newman by the thousandths of a second to get that spot in the playoffs for the round of 8. And he won at Talladega earlier last year in another photo finish against Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Last night, he didn't win in a photo finish because everybody behind him on the last lap crashed. But he was able to go on and win the race. The 12 teams clicking at the right time. And of course, Todd Gordon, Blaney's crew chief, is retiring at the end of the season. So for him to get another win at Daytona where he won with Joey Logano as his crew chief in 2015 for the Daytona 500, this is pretty special for Todd Gordon. Ryan Blaney, we all know that he's pretty good in the playoffs, but we all saw what happened to him last year when he made the playoffs. In the round of 16, he did not have the best of luck, where he got eliminated in the first round because he had a points penalty before we started Darlington with a rules infraction that lost him points, and he didn't run well. He doesn't run well at all at Richmond. I mean, he doesn't even have a top 10 there. And he's pretty good at Bristol. He's really good at Bristol. He just hasn't had the results lately to showcase it. And he didn't have it last year to get him in. But this time around, with these 3 wins and these bonus points, Ryan Blaney fans, I think it's safe to say you're going to be one of the 12 men that move on to the round of 12 after Bristol's night race. So Blaney's clicking at the right time, folks. Could he be a candidate to make the championship 4 and get his first Cup championship? Be the first time we've ever seen back-to-back first-time Cup Series champions in quite some time? I mean, the last time that happened, I think it was back in 2002 to 2004 with 3 new champions with Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, and Kurt Busch. So why can't it be Ryan Blaney? So the 12 team, again, clicking at the right time, and they definitely have some momentum going for them. And it was pretty cool to see him finish in front of his buddy, Bubba Wallace. Now, actually, Chris Buescher finished second last night, and he needed to win like Bubba and everybody behind him. But Buescher's car failed post-race inspection for like an illegal part. Illegal part that's, that they passed pre-race inspection, but apparently they failed at post-race. So that's unfortunate for the 17 team. But Blaney held up all the runs at the very end. He got a great restart at the very end of the race in overtime and did all he needed to do to win the race, and he got the job done. Number 2, the battle for the last spot was on between teammates and Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon. We saw the battle all night long, where Austin Dillon finished in the top 10 in both stages last night and gained a considerable amount of points. However, Reddick, who didn't score any points in Stage 1, was able to get points in Stage 2 and maintain a certain gap over Austin Dillon. They kept running up towards the front of the pack, the middle of the pack, just trying to keep in touch with each other because there was the battle to see which one of those guys was going to be around at the end, but also keep an eye on the guys that needed to win, like a Matt DiBenedetto, a Ross Chastain, a Bubba Wallace, a Chris Buescher, a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. The list goes on and on. But in the final stage late in the race, Martin Truex Jr. and William Byron crashed on the back straightaway after Truex got a tap from behind with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. because of the accordion effect guys were checking up in front of him. And Tyler Reddick seemed to have the wreck miss, and then Truex comes down the last second, and Reddick hits him in the back, and there's some damage on the front of his car, and there's some smoke pouring from him. I felt like the radiator was busted, meaning his race was over, but it was the oil cooler, and apparently they were able to muster on and continue despite all of that. Then as the last couple of restarts happened, we had multiple wrecks. Austin Dillon was able to sneak through one of those wrecks. Tyler Reddick the same because he lost the pack for a brief moment. But on the restart, Dillon was trying to make moves in the middle of the pack, weaving, while also dealing with a battery problem. He had complained about electrical issues late in the race, and when we got a caution, he was able to come to pit road and change the battery. Somehow, that still didn't fix the problem. Apparently, he was still having electrical issues, but the car kept rolling, and he tried to get up into the middle of the pack to get as much points and spots as possible to get ahead of Tyler Reddick. Unfortunately, on the last lap, Carnage with Kurt Busch getting in the back of Daniel Suarez, which turned Kevin Harvick around, and everybody else in the pack was involved. Austin Dillon was a part of the Carnage, and he has unfortunately been eliminated from the playoffs with that. Because Tyler Reddick was able to sneak through and get the 5th place finish, Tyler Reddick holds the last spot into the playoffs, and he will be the man representing RCR in the postseason. And he was very emotional in his post-race interview, saying, how hard he fought for this. He's dealt with a couple of pretty rough results the last few weeks. I mean, they really fought hard and hard and hard to get to this point. I mean, Tyler Reddick, ever since he came to Richard Childress last year, he has really helped improve this race team. They've become more competitive. He's made Austin a better race car driver. The whole team seems to be getting back to their ways when they had guys like Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton and Clint Bowyer on their team, and they were winning races and at least being in the playoffs each year and being competitive. We haven't seen that from Richard Childress in quite a while since Harvick left in 2013. But Reddick has now got the opportunity to go get them a chance at a championship, despite no bonus points. Or maybe did they win a stage this year? If they did, I forget. But if they did, they have an opportunity. They have a pretty good first round, which could benefit them, but we will see what happens. But as for Austin Dillon, he gave it all he could. As a matter of fact, pre-race, his son, Ace Dillon, actually dropped his binky in his car, and I felt like, well, that could be a good luck charm for Austin to have his son's binky in the car and at least get into the playoffs. And for a moment, it looked like he was going to when Reddick was in that crash late, but it just didn't materialize for them. So he gave it all he could. Number 3, the regular season championship was on the line last night between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. Larson came into this race 28 points above Denny Hamlin, trying to win the race. Larson was supposed to start on the pole for last night's race, but because he failed pre-race inspection, he had to start at the rear, and he decided to change his game plan on how he was going to run his race. And he did a really good job. He was able to get some stage points in stage 2 when Denny Hamlin wasn't able to. Hamlin was caught up in a wreck late in the race, towards the very end, and Larson was able to sneak through. However, both of them were caught up in wrecks regardless. Larson was in the big wreck on the last lap of the race. However, with the points he had accumulated throughout the season and the points he accumulated in last night's race, and based on the finish, and Hamlin wasn't able to get more points in the 5 car, Kyle Larson is officially your 2021 NASCAR regular season champion. And that means 15 more bonus points to his points total towards the playoffs. So entering, Kyle Larson has 2,052 points to his points total. And everybody has been reset with 2,000 points. And you get the bonus points based off of your stage wins, your race wins, and of course 15 bonus points for winning the regular season championship, which Kyle Larson has in his back pocket. This should carry him all the way to the championship floor. And I know that sounds maybe a little broad, but I mean, the way Kyle Larson's been running this year, this has been a career year for him, and this is his chance to win the championship. He did what he needed to do last night. It wasn't the best finish, but you know what? All the points and all the races he won this year, he's going to look back on that and say, this is how we got this regular season championship. He should be proud of it. All their hard work has gone into this effort, and now they got a chance to go win a championship, so we'll see what this happens. Denny Hamlin, however, he really needed that regular season championship last night because he enters the playoffs with 15 bonus points added to the 2,000 that he has. However, he doesn't have a win yet, and he had a car capable of winning last night. He was up front towards the end, but he was involved in the wreck late in the race, which I'll get to in a moment. But Hamlin's gonna need to win in the playoffs. I think he's gonna make it through the round of 12. But after that, I think it's pretty much nail in the coffin as far as championship hopes. The only way he's going to have a chance to win this championship, he has to get to victory lane. He has to deliver. Literally, like FedEx does. He has to deliver in the playoffs. Number 4, Carnage towards the very end of the race. We knew the aggressiveness was going to be the aggressiveness of the drivers was going to keyed up as the race began to carry on late in the going. We saw that when we had a late race yellow for caution when the Rick Ware cars came together. We bunched everybody back up and they were starting to make moves out there. Guys stayed out on old tires, pretty much all the Fords, while some guys took 2 tires, and pretty much a lot of guys, including all the Hendrick cars, decided to take 4 tires and propel themselves up to the front. Then we had the crash late with Byron and Truex, which took out Byron and also hurt Tyler Reddick, but he was able to continue on. Then we had a wreck with 4 laps to go, somewhere around that lap, where in turn 3 and 4, Chase Elliott, who was one of the best cars last night, along with Joey Logano, both of them got stage wins. Both of them were caught up in late race accidents where Logano, I think, cut a tire and lost the pack, scraped the wall, and had to come to pit road, which took him out of it. And Chase Elliott blocking Matt DiBenedetto, who needed to win last night in his last year with the Wood brothers, and he doesn't have a ride line up for next year. They were blocking each other hard in turn 3 and 4, and they both scraped the wall, and they both made contact, and everybody else behind them started ricocheting into each other. Denny Hamlin was a part of it. Ricky Stenhouse was a part of it. That took him out of it. Brad Keselowski was a part of it. Christopher Bell. Kaz Grala was in it, and apparently, from what I heard reports, he's fractured his foot. That's not good. I hope you recover well soon, Kaz. We'd like to see you back in the car by Talladega, and if not, College Racing, who's going to run their car in that race, will have to get somebody else ready to go. Maybe AJ Allmendinger. But regardless, the intensity was continuing to ramp up at the end, and on the last lap, Kevin Harvick was sitting in second place with an opportunity to get his first win of the season for a guy that hasn't won this year, has no bonus points, but did lock himself into the playoffs last week based on the amount of points he had going over the cut line going into Daytona. Then Daniel Suarez behind him. He needed to win because he needed to make the playoffs, and behind him was the one car, which next year will be a car for Trackhouse Racing team, driven by Kurt Busch. They were getting a big run down the back straightaway, and then Kurt Busch in sort of ways hooked Suarez into Kevin Harvick. And a lot of people on social media are comparing that to the finish of the 2006 Talladega Fall race, where Brian Vickers tapped teammate Jimmy Johnson into Dale Earnhardt Jr., taking them both out, and Brian Vickers were going to win the race, which was not received well by the fans whatsoever, because that's Earnhardt country. But the wreck at the end took out a lot of guys. Bubba Wallace snuck through. Austin Dillon, as I mentioned, was a part of it. Kyle Larson. Alex Bowman was a part of it. There were a lot of big wrecks at the very end. You knew the intensity was going to ramp up, but that's what Daytona is all about. It brings the action, the excitement, and the drama over who's going to get like certain spots, who's going to win the race, who's going to get that last spot in the playoffs. We had it all last night. It was just phenomenal. And number 5, one of the other storylines entering last night was the brand new Super Speedway rules package. After the Talladega race in the spring, Joey Logano called out NASCAR for this rules package, saying, when he got up in the air and flipped, he was pretty upset with the aggressive out there, saying, did we learn nothing from Ryan Newman's 2020 Daytona 500 crash? We need to do better. We need to have safer race cars. We want to be fast. We know the fans like it, but they have to understand that the driver safety is more important. And he made a valid point, and NASCAR made some changes by reducing the horsepower by 7 to 10 miles per hour, taking off that wicker bill on the back spoiler of the car. You really couldn't tell a difference with the cars last night. They still looked like they were running fast. But if you were following along the race on your NASCAR app with the leaderboard, you could tell that the speeds were nowhere near 195 to 200 miles per hour. The highest speeds for the majority of the night were around 190 to 191. But you did see Hamlin at one point, I think, reach 195 miles per hour because he was back in the pack and getting massive runs and increasing his speed at the time. So I think the rules package, though, regardless, when it came to the racing products we saw last night, very entertaining, very exciting. We'll see how that materializes when we go to Talladega for the race in the round of 12. But I felt like that the racing in general last night, with the drama of who's going to get that last spot in the playoffs via points or maybe a win, the battle for the regular season championship between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, and seeing all the contenders last night that were in the playoffs running up front, trying to build some momentum and gain confidence going into the playoffs next weekend, I felt like last night lived up to the hype. Very exciting race, all in all. And everybody put on a good show. A lot of guys ran up front early on. A lot of guys hang back. They were thinking about winning the race. Some of them got right up to the front of the end. And then some of them got caught in crashes. But regardless, last night was just a fun race at Daytona. Also want to give a quick shout out to Justin Haley, who won the Xfinity race yesterday afternoon after being postponed Friday because of Mother Nature. That's not a shock when it comes to Florida this time of year in the summer. He ended up getting a top 10 for Spire Motorsports. While his teammate Corey LaJoie, he didn't finish exactly where we wanted to, 16th. He did lead some laps last night and run front. He had a very fast race car. But getting top 10s at the end of the night right behind Chase Elliott in 8th place, BJ McLeod for Live Fast Motorsports, a team that's not been competitive this year, but the draft at Daytona, the great equalizer, which could allow smaller teams to get good finishes. He ended up getting a 9th place finish last night, and his car was painted with gators because that's the normal reptile that you find in Florida. And then Josh Bilicki for Rickware Racing got a top 10, while his other 3 teammates tangled, which set up the late race action. Josh Bilicki emerged from all the wrecks on skating and got a 10th place finish. Big nights for those small teams. That'll help bring in the money to help continue their efforts, especially for next year when we have this next-gen car. Good runs all around. A lot of guys got some nice, solid finishes last night. Ryan Newman got a top 5 finish, and he ran laid in the back all night, got up to the front of the end, dodged the Carnage, and got away with a top 5 finish, which probably was his last start at Daytona because we don't know his future for next year. And Ryan Preece got a top 5, the only non-chartered team that's running the full season this year. Good job, guys. You got a good result out of it. Before I close out the video, I do want to acknowledge a couple of passings that have happened in the world of motorsports and in the world of rock and roll. For those who don't know, I'm a massive fan of rock music, as you can tell by this Queen shirt right here, one of the greatest bands of all time. Well, the world's greatest band of all time, the Rolling Stones, lost a great one this week as drummer for the Rolling Stones, Charlie Watts, passed away at the age of 80 years old. The Stones were going back on tour earlier this month. Unfortunately, Charlie couldn't go because he, medical-wise, he wasn't healthy enough, but doctors said he was expected to make a quick, speedy recovery and get back soon, but he passed away on Wednesday, and it was a very sad day for rock and roll. I love the Rolling Stones. they're not like my favorite band. They're one of my top 10 favorite bands. So Charlie, you will be missed. And the following day, the motorsports community lost a great one in Robin Miller. Earlier this month, obviously, Bob Jenkins passed away due to cancer, and just a couple weeks later, one of the greatest journalists and critics of IndyCar, but was very well respected in the IndyCar garage, and Robin Miller succumbed to cancer at the age of 71. He will surely be missed. I mean, for those in the NASCAR community, if you watch IndyCar, you know who I'm talking about. For those who don't know, go look up Robin Miller. He was a very well-respected man. He was not on any of the NBC broadcasts this year because he was dealing with his cancer. Robin, Godspeed, my friend, and we will miss you, and Charlie Watts will miss you too. But enough of that. That is the end of the regular season, and now we have entered playoff time. 16 drivers, 10 races, only one will be crowned champion. Who will it be? Will it be Kyle Larson in his biggest year of his career driving for Hendrick Motorsports? Will Chase Elliott be able to repeat as the NASCAR Cup Series champion? Will Kyle Busch bounce back from a dismal 2020 and get his 3rd Cup championship? Or will Ryan Blaney, who's been so hot lately with the wins and the runs, is he going to propel through? Or could we have an upset? Will Kurt Busch send off Chip Ganassi with his first and only Cup championship in 2021? Or could Alex Bowman and William Byron, in career years for them, could they propel themselves into the championship? Or could Brad Keselowski, in his final year with Team Penske before moving on to Roush Fenway next year, get one more title with the captain? All those questions will be answered in these next few weeks of the playoffs. I do want to mention that I have some upcoming videos that I'm going to talk to you guys about this weekend, including some big news that happened on Friday while I was at work. I wanted to just look at the article, and I will process it and make it into a video. Probably I'll give it to you guys tomorrow, talk about the big news that happened in the NASCAR world. And later this week, I will also give you my predictions about how the playoffs are going to go, and I'd like you guys to hear your thoughts. By the way, leave a comment down below. What did you think of last night's Daytona race? Did you think it was good? Do you think it was exciting? Do you think that maybe NASCAR needs to do a little more adjusting to the cars? Do you feel like what they showed last night is that they're safe enough and fast enough to put on a good show? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would certainly like to read what you have to say, what's on your mind. So that'll be it for me. I'm going to take off now, so subscribe, like. Congratulations to Ryan Blaney, and congratulations to the 16 men that are officially in this year's NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Best of luck to all of them. May the best man win the title. Bye.